I think one of the scariest things about the US is that you cannot go to the wrong house without getting shot. This has happened many, many times. I bring this up because I was reading about the story the other day that left my jaw on the ground. So there was this 32-year-old woman named Maria Florinda Rios who was shot and killed on the front porch of a home she accidentally went to. Maria and her husband worked as cleaners, and on November 5th, 2025, they were scheduled to clean a home in this new subdivision. There seemed to be a GPS error and it took them to the wrong address. So completely not their fault. The homeowner, 62-year-old Kurt Anderson, was inside his house when he noticed someone was putting their keys in his doorknob. And so Kurt called the police, and while he was on the phone with them, he shot right through the door, taking Maria's life while her husband was right there. Now, the homeowner's actions could actually be justified under Indiana's Stand Your Ground law. However, Kurt was eventually arrested and charged with voluntary manslaughter, which is a 10 to 30-year prison sentence if he is convicted. The key thing here is that prosecutors need to determine whether the use of force was reasonable in the scenario. And even when investigators put the same address in the GPS, it did in fact take them to Kurt's house. Now, my thoughts? I think that even though Kurt was probably in fear that someone was trying to break into his home, he could have still checked through the window or yelled something. But he didn't. He just shot through the door. Now, had he yelled, said anything, I'm pretty sure Maria and her husband would have backed off, left, or explain the situation. But then I put myself in Kurt's shoes, and if I was home alone, I probably wouldn't know what to do. The story is so sad. Maria had 4 small young children, and imagine learning your mother was murdered while doing her job.
This person secretly recorded life inside North Korea.
You won't believe what this man saw during the 2024 solar eclipse. Reddit user Blakester731 said that him and a couple of friends went to watch the solar eclipse at a fishing spot out in the backwater in Tennessee. It was a secluded area that also hosts a small Trail of Tears memorial. They passed the stone monument on their way to go fishing, which acknowledged the removal of the Cherokee from their native land and the tragedies that occurred there. He said that him and his friends gave it their private respects and moved along to the fishing spot. Time passed like any other day out fishing, and they were having a good time. Towards the afternoon, the dark shape of the moon started to move closer to the sun. The woods all of a sudden became very quiet. The sounds of birds, flies, and cicadas all seemingly disappeared. Then the eclipse started, and the world got darker around them. Colors and weird shadows split across the ground. Reddit user Blakester731 said that he was switching from his light-resistant glasses to the landscape around him. He looked towards the trees, and then finally, the moon was full and only the sun's halo showed behind it. He took the glasses off to see it more clearly, and then he says, they were there. He said that they were like reflections and shadows standing around them. There were tall, dark human shapes surrounding them. There were hundreds of them in the woods, behind the trees, and on the shoreline. He screamed and fell out of his chair. His friends then took their glasses off and shot out of their chairs too. They all grouped together and started moving towards their truck. But just as the moon moved off the sun, the shadow figures vanished. The whole thing had lasted less than 3 minutes, but they got out of there as fast as they could.
Talk about one of the craziest things someone's confessed to before passing, part 20. In December of 2023, a man named Gary Artman, who was a long-haul trucker, he's on his deathbed. He's got lung cancer and he ain't got long to live. He confesses to killing 11 women. He had actually gone into a coma and he was on a respirator, but he miraculously woke up out of the coma and was taken off the respirator. One of the victims' mothers said this was just a miracle because she finally learned the truth of what happened to her daughter. While Gary confessed to murdering 11 women, he was only definitively linked through DNA to these 3 women you see here for murdering them. They are Sharon Hammock. She was 29 and pregnant. She was essayed, strangled, and bound. Dusty Shuck, who was found beaten and stabbed near a truck stop. And then we have Kathleen Davis. She vanished from a nightclub on Division Avenue. Her body has never been found. So Gary died on December 28th of 2023. Following his death, police released a series of confession tapes in late 2025 to help identify his other victims. They also discovered women's underwear and torture journals in his Florida storage unit, though no usable DNA was recovered. These cases are always crazy to me, that someone held on to these secrets all of their life and then wait until they're about to die to throw this bombshell on them. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
I'm going to share a couple things with you that I just learned about money. The creator of the 10-hour fireplace YouTube video that was uploaded 9 years ago, and we've probably all put on our TV to pretend that we have fireplaces still, came out to the public and said that he has earned over $1 million from just uploading that one video. Jeff Bezos' biological father didn't even know that his son was a multi-billionaire until 2012. He worked at an Arizona bike shop, and a biographer came to find him and told him. These are the $100,000 bills that the US released only for the Federal Reserve internal accounting between 1934 and 1935. They were never released to the public, and literally private ownership is illegal. An 81-year-old unmarried billionaire with no kids is getting ready to give his entire nearly $20 billion net worth to his 51-year-old gardener. The launch of Visa was actually a failure for multiple years, losing millions of dollars a year. But when Visa ended up becoming profitable, they did not release this information publicly in order to keep competition away.
2026 just got even crazier. Part 4. India has a huge problem, because on the east side of India, an elephant has been on an absolute rampage and has taken the life of 22 people and injured around 15 since early January, and the elephant is mainly making these attacks at night. Authorities claim the elephant might be so aggressive because of habitat loss and human presence, and to make this story just so much more shocking, well, the elephant is now nowhere to be found, and around 100 specialists are now trying to locate the elephant at this current moment. Next, you all know how Coca-Cola has the most protected secret formula in the world. Well, a YouTuber named Labcoats spent nearly a year analyzing and researching the formula and claims to have created a recipe that is chemically identical, and here it is. I don't even know if it's okay to show you all this, and I don't feel okay showing you all this, but yeah, I had to take the risk. Finally, what I think is the biggest phone game ever is Subway Surfers. Well, it was just announced that on February 26, 2026, they would be coming out with Subway Surfers 2. I never thought this game would get another version, but we actually got one in 2026.
What is happening in the world of show business, and why does everyone look so different? People have started noticing it everywhere. Cynthia Erivo's hands, the way they look now, the shape, the texture. Many say it doesn't look normal anymore. Then there's Jenna, her face, her expressions, the way she moves. Something feels off, as if her appearance has been altered. And it doesn't stop there. The annual situation raised even more questions. His behavior, his look, the drastic change. Jenna herself admitted that the transformation was radical, so radical that people are now saying it looks like an entirely different person. Then there's Ariana Grande. Look closely. This isn't just uncomfortable, it's disturbing. Side-by-side comparisons from different years show changes that go far beyond weight loss or makeup. Bone structure, skin, eyes, things that shouldn't change this way. Some say it's illness, others say stress. But there are theories that go much darker. Theories about replacements, about cloning, about something being done behind the scenes in the entertainment industry. Patterns that keep repeating across different celebrities. All of these cases are connected by one thing: none of them feel natural. Once you start noticing it, you can't stop seeing it everywhere. What do you think is really happening to these celebrities? Subscribe, or we'll never see each other again.
You won't believe this. They found the gates of hell on Earth, and they captured video to prove it. Watch this.
We find hell on Earth. This is the deepest man-made hole on Earth. It goes 7.5 miles deep and took 19 years to dig. Many strange things were discovered during the dig, but when they lowered a microphone all the way down this hole, they caught this audio. Leading many to think that the digging penetrated the gates of hell, allowing the screams of the dead to be heard.
If you want to ensure that you never go to hell when you die, go watch the video I pinned in the comments.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. Registered nurse Emily Thompson said that she had a female patient who was dying of cancer. The patient had grown increasingly anxious in her last days. She often complained of a strange sulfuric smell in her room. "It's getting stronger," she said one evening. Emily, who was accustomed to the odd perceptions of the dying, tried to reassure her, but the patient's haunted eyes told another story. That night, she gripped Emily's hand with surprising strength, her breath coming in shallow gasps. "He's here," she whispered. "Who's here?" Emily asked. "The devil's here. He's waiting for me." Her voice cracked. Her face twisted in terror as she turned her gaze to the dark corner of the room. "I did terrible things," she said. "Things no one knows." The nurse followed her stare, but there was nothing there. The patient's lips parted as if to scream, but only silence came. Her body convulsed, then fell still. Emily said that the smell of sulfur lingered in that room long after the patient died.
Horror movies.
You know, someone stood outside your house right now. Someone has stood outside every single one of your houses at night, looking at the property and inspecting it. And statistically speaking, with the amount of people who are on this platform, that's probably happening to one of you right now. Most break-ins actually happen when people are home opposed to when they're out. That's why there's such an increase in the amount of homicides and home break-ins. You are in millions and millions of strangers' photos. More disturbing again, someone has a photo of you, unknowing, probably on their wall or even on their screensaver. And someone probably has a photo of you which they have malintentions for. All of our data, our house's data, and everything is online. Your home has been searched online a lot more than you may think for a number of different reasons, some normal, some a lot more disturbing.
Videos that can't be explained. I bet you can't make it to the last video. This girl was talking to her friend when a ghost came by.
And I had to have surgery, and it was the first time we were apart since I was really little. I mean, now is the first time we've been apart since high school, and I just Emily!
Did you know TikTok has a secret emoji? If you type the word shout lowercase with the bars around it like this, something crazy happens. This man was saying hi to his pet cat when a shadow figure appears.
Hi, my baby. I love my kitty.
Apparently you can find out who your 5 biggest stalkers are. Just click the share button, click more, and the top 5 people to show up are your stalkers. The man was alone in his bedroom when something wanted to say hi.
This is the story about the blind woman who could see ghosts. So this girl who was blind at birth lived with her father on a single ranch house. So because she was blind at birth, she had spatial awareness. Pretty much she knew how far apart everything was based on what she touched. One day in the living room, the blind woman was talking to a ghost named Ellie. So Ellie said to the blind woman her name and asked her why her face was so messed up. So the blind woman then asked, "Why is my face messed up? What's wrong with it?" And at that point, the father then heard the conversation and snagged the blind woman out of the room and said, "Who were you talking to?" The blind woman then replied, "I was speaking to Ellie," and then the father laughed. Over the course of the next few months, the blind woman started speaking to over 13 ghosts. And each time she would speak, her father would get very, very upset at her for speaking to ghosts. So one day, the blind woman fell in the kitchen and had to call the paramedics. And once the paramedics arrived there, she asked, "Can my dad come with me to the hospital?" The paramedic then replied, "Your dad's been dead for 6 years." Make sure to like for a part 2.
Did you know that Billie Eilish manifested a demon? Watch this.
I wanna end me.
The devil is real, but Jesus came to set people free. If you want to learn more about freedom in Christ, subscribe or follow now.
what really happened to Fetty Wap's eye? Well, there's an interview that he did with TMZ back in 2016, and his mom was with him, so she even explained it.
I'm sure you get asked about the eye all the time, and I don't know if you're tired of talking about it or not. Cool, bro. But for those of us who don't know, just quickly tell me like what happened. It was glaucoma, right? When you were younger?
I had glaucoma when I was little. Matter of fact, my mother is here actually. I was born with glaucoma, and I lost the eye at 6 months. And I got reconstructive surgery when I was 12. Okay. And I just stopped wearing the prosthesis because I didn't want to look like everybody else.
In 2022, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison for trafficking illegal stuff, you know. Now, Fetty's been through a lot. Back in 2021, his daughter tragically passed away when she was only 4 years old.
Then she dropped her head. I hung the phone up like, no, what's up? Like, then she called me back again, you feel me? Then I seen the tears coming down. She like, get over here, like, right now. Come here, right now. Like, come here right now. Then she showed the police officer. The police officer was like, I'm sorry. When he said I'm sorry, that's when I already, like, you feel me? Like, so I say that to say this, like, none of my life will ever be that bad that's the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to me in my life.
It was from an irregular heartbeat that she had issues with since birth. But he was recently released in 2026, and he's ready to make music again.
You know that Fetty Wap joint, you know what I'm saying? You already, he gonna get us right, you dig? This pedophile molested dozens of children over the course of 11 years and filmed all of it, uploaded those pictures and videos to the dark web, and even took videos and photographs of innocent children at Disney World to be turned into AI-generated CSAM. So meet Justin Ryan Colmo. Justin is from the Tampa, Florida area, and Justin made frequent trips to Walt Disney World. While he was at Walt Disney World, Justin was not enjoying the rides and the shows. He was actively searching for victims, aka young children he could photograph and then turn into AI-generated CSAM. Now, according to the press release from the Department of Justice, quote, over the course of 11 years, Colmo filmed himself sexually abusing dozens of children, including infants and toddlers. He subsequently distributed those images and videos on dark websites dedicated solely to child sexual abuse material. Colmo possessed nearly 86,000 images and 845 videos of CSAM and approximately 8,500 artificial intelligence generated CSAM images. So this is one of the worst offenders that I've heard about in a long time. 86,000 images, 845 videos, an additional 8,500 AI CSAM images. And thankfully, for once, the outcome in this case was ideal, and he was sentenced to 75 years in prison on a multitude of charges. But it's disturbing to me that because he actually went to places like Disney World, photographed kids, and then used those random children to generate AI CSAM, it's kind of an unknown as to what kid is online at this point that appears in an image like that, which is unfortunately a scary reality of our world today. We are seeing more and more of these cases being prosecuted and more of these offenders being arrested. I hope he has an absolutely horrific time in prison, but it's good to always be aware and just at minimum to know that this is something that's going on nowadays. Offenders don't even have to physically abuse children anymore in order to abuse them in some way. They can now just take an innocent photo of a child and create CSAM out of that image, which I find to be incredibly troubling and incredibly disturbing.
This man had a hammer stuck in his head. In 2013, 18-year-old Connor Huntley was asleep when his life was nearly taken in a sudden and brutal attack. In the early hours of the morning, his 21-year-old flatmate, Joseph Williams, entered the room armed with a claw hammer and began striking him repeatedly in the head while he slept. One of the blows was so forceful that the hammer became embedded in Huntley's skull, leaving him critically injured and bleeding heavily. Emergency services rushed him to the hospital where surgeons performed urgent surgery to remove the hammer and relieve pressure on his brain. He was diagnosed with a depressed skull fracture and a traumatic brain injury. Although Connor Huntley survived against extraordinary odds, the injuries permanently altered his life in ways he couldn't have imagined. He was left with lasting brain damage, including epilepsy, impaired motor control, and cognitive difficulties that continue to affect his daily functioning. This is so disturbing, and the fact that he survived this brutal attack is absolutely mind-blowing.
This man wanted to film a cute video with his wife, but instead, he accidentally recorded her during a sleep paralysis episode, and the video ended up going extremely viral. She was sleeping peacefully, everything looked sweet and calm, and at first, the man didn't even realize that his wife was desperately trying to call for help. During sleep paralysis, your entire body is frozen. You can't get up, you can't move, and you can't even scream. And the scariest part is that people experiencing sleep paralysis often actually see terrifying things, like frightening creatures that can crawl right on top of you and press down on your chest or your neck. It feels like you're trapped inside your own body while something horrifying stands nearby, staring straight at you, and sometimes it even talks to you. But there is some good news. There's a way to get out of this state quickly. You need to try to move your toes. And if you manage to do that, the signal reaches your brain and you can wake up. Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis? If yes, what did you see during it?
This is the scariest story, but I'm sorry, Mom. One night, a woman was sitting in the kitchen reading the newspaper when she looked up and saw her 6-year-old son coming down the stairs. "Something wrong, dear?" said the woman. "I had a nightmare," said the boy. "Well, you're safe now," said the mother. "I dreamed I was in bed and heard a sound in Daddy's room," he said. "When I looked in the door, I saw 2 big black things with white eyes. They came out of the closet and they attacked Daddy." "Don't worry," said the mother in a soothing voice. "That was just a dream. It didn't happen." The boy continued. "They ripped them into pieces and then ate them after. And they licked the blood off the floor. I thought if I ran away they wouldn't catch me, but they did. They were going to eat me, but they stopped and said they wouldn't eat me if I promised to." "Promise to what?" asked the mother. "Promise to distract you while they creeped up behind you," said the boy. "I'm sorry, Mommy." The woman then heard the floorboards creak behind her, and the hair on the back of her neck stood up. The boy then watched his mother get ripped apart piece by piece, with a smile on his face the whole time.
She was filming a video on a plane and had no idea she was recording the last hours of her life. It all started as a normal lifestyle video. She was talking about her first-class flight and showing the food they were serving on board. The flight was long, so she was trying to keep herself entertained however she could. She and her husband had been waiting for this vacation for a long time, dreaming of flying somewhere warm by the ocean. After several hours in the air, she decided to try to get some sleep. She put on her headphones and turned on her favorite TV show in the background. But she could not fall asleep because the plane started shaking in a strange way. At first, she did not think much of it, even though she already felt a growing sense of anxiety inside. Gradually, the turbulence became stronger and stronger, and she started to panic. Her husband, who was sitting next to her, tried to calm her down, but it did not help. Eventually, an emergency alarm went off on the plane, and the flight attendants announced that the aircraft was going down and began giving emergency instructions. That was when she had a full-blown panic attack, and she stopped recording. A few days later, search and rescue teams found suitcases floating in the ocean, while the plane itself had sunk deep to the bottom.
On November 27th of 2009, a 19-year-old Taylor Mitchell, she's a folk singer. She goes to Cape Breton Highlands National Park. She loved nature. She loved soaking up the outdoors, so that's exactly what she was doing. She was enjoying herself a walk before she had her next concert. And here's like a map of it. She was seen at Skyline Trail by a couple. They were going the opposite direction of her. It was 2:45 that afternoon. So she was seen at the beginning of the trail, and for some unknown reason, she doubles back after going a short distance along the trail and came back down along the access road, intending to, I guess, return back to her car. And it's possible at this time that she was already being stalked by this coyote. At 3:02, another couple is walking on the access road. They're headed to their car when 2 coyotes come running down the path. 6 minutes later, these same coyotes run into Taylor on this access road, and the couple from the carport, they hear screams of a girl and animals howling. They call the cops, and then 4 more hikers, they come and they join these hikers, and then some of them go walking down this trail where they find several of Taylor's belongings scattered down the trail. So these hikers continue to follow the trail of Taylor's belongings, and as they turn into the clearing at the head of the trail, they see torn pieces of bloodied clothing and large amounts of blood along the ground. A bathroom nearby had blood on the door, and then moments later they see Taylor laying on the ground with a coyote just hovering over top of her. It took all 3 of these men charging and rushing at this coyote for it to run off, but it stayed close by, still showing little to no fear and growling at him. It only fully left the scene when a ranger showed up and shot at it. Taylor was conscious and able to speak with the rescuers. She had bites all over her body with particularly serious wounds to her leg and head. After being rushed to the hospital, Taylor dies of severe blood loss. Multiple coyotes were hunted down after this, and it was speculated for a while these coyotes did it. And then a study confirmed that these coyotes in this area had been feasting on moose instead of their normal smaller animal diet, which made Taylor view to them as prey. I can't even imagine how insanely scary that would be, and I really hope that Taylor is resting in peace.
11-year-old killed his father for taking his Nintendo Switch away in Pennsylvania. This little kid literally got a gun and shot his father over this. Police reported to the house at 3:25 a.m. and found the father dead in his bed with a gunshot through his head. He walked into the room and said, "Daddy's dead," and then he told his mom that he killed his father afterwards. Things get a lot creepier from here. Upon interviewing this 11-year-old, you wouldn't think that he would think much about all this stuff, but he had it planned out in his head. He said in the documents it was his birthday, and he got very mad at his parents when they told him it's time for bed because it was about midnight. That's why they took away his Nintendo Switch, and as soon as they did that, he had in his mind who he was going to kill. He told the police his father was the one in his mind that he planned to kill. The child also said he got a key from his father's drawer when he went looking around for his Nintendo Switch. He was snooping around trying to get it. And then he realized it was a key to the gun safe. Not only did he open the gun safe, he loaded the gun and took the safety off. How does an 11-year-old know how to do that? This child is scheduled to make a court appearance on January 22nd. But we'll see what happens. Honestly, he's probably going to go to like juvie or something. Let me know your thoughts about the story in the comments because this is crazy.
This dinosaur animatronic is by far the scariest one that is in the entirety of the Jurassic Park ride. Yes, because it is in water and you can see the mechanics below it. This is disgusting. Now you might think I'm scared of the T-Rex. I'm not nearly as scared of the T-Rex as I am of this dude. The Parasaurolophus, I think I pronounced that correctly. Dinosaur nerds, please let me know. I am a dinosaur nerd, I just suck at pronunciation. This thing is absolutely massive. It's like 5 feet tall outside of the water. But apparently, it's actually in a 20-foot deep pit. I have heard from people that work at Universal Studios, and they've told me in the comments that this guy is in a very, very deep, 20-foot deep pit, and it comes out of the water. Oh my god. So below this guy is just a massive tunnel of water. Bro looks like he's pulling an aerial and flipping his hair back. He's on them good leaves. Watch this video and let me know what you're thinking, and would you be scared of seeing this? I've seen this in real life, and when I tell you that my soul almost left my body, I was not joking.
We have captured one of the most scariest videos.
This video went viral for a really disturbing reason. It was posted by this girl who says it was the scariest day of her life. It all started when she and her dad decided to do something like a seance, hoping to communicate with a close family member who had passed away a long time ago. They prepared very carefully. They memorized the right words, somehow got their hands on equipment like an EMF meter and a special radio that's supposedly used to communicate with spirits, covered the windows, and started trying to contact their deceased relative. Just a few minutes into the ritual, the girl's father starts saying that he feels strange and uncomfortable. The girl also notices that the atmosphere in the room suddenly feels heavy and unsettling, and her hands even begin to shake. Then her father starts feeling an intense cold and dizziness. For a moment, he tries to pull himself together. The daughter suggests that they stop and end the ritual, but he doesn't respond. And then this happens.
Dad. Oh my god. Dad? Dad! What are you doing?
You know you've never actually seen anything for real, right? There's actually a physical hole in the middle of your eye, which obviously allows you to not see everything. Instead, your brain actually fills in the blanks by what it thinks should be there, so most of the time what you're seeing isn't actually real, it's what your brain is imagining should be there. Similar to that as well, your mind can actually create fake memories, and these feel completely real. You don't actually experience reality in live time, you're constantly delayed. Your eyes are also flipped, you actually see the world upside down, but your brain flips it so it looks normal. The time it takes from the light to hit your eye and then send the signal to your brain, you're constantly living in the past. Everything you see has already happened a few milliseconds ago. You have never and will never ever be able to actually see yourself in a current position. A phone camera like this where it's inverted, not what you look like. Looking at yourself in a mirror, not really what you look like either. The closest to how you actually look is on a photo that someone else has taken of you, but once you've seen that, it's in the past.
This man was killed by a wedgie. In 2013, a violent argument inside a New Mexico home ended in a death so unusual, it stunned investigators and the world. During the confrontation, Brad Davis attacked his 58-year-old stepfather, Denver Lee St. Clair, and inflicted what is commonly known as an atomic wedgie, pulling St. Clair's underwear violently up over his head. The elastic waistband tightened around St. Clair's neck, cutting off his airway. Unable to breathe, he was strangled and died at the scene by his underwear. Medical examiners later confirmed that the cause of death was asphyxiation caused by the underwear constricting his neck. Davis was arrested and charged, and the case drew national attention due to the bizarre but deadly nature of the assault. He was ultimately convicted and sentenced to 30 years in prison, a stark reminder that what began as a physical altercation escalated into a fatal act of extreme violence. This is by far one of the strangest and unusual deaths ever.
Welp, we are in 2016. Let me explain. So last year in 2025, I made a video talking about how people wanted to bring back 2016 trends in 2026. Well, they literally brought back 2016 now. Because every single person on Instagram is posting pictures of them in 2016, even though it's 2026. And also, many people are posting videos that they made in 2016, now in 2026. Yeah, they've brought back 2016. Oh, and I can't leave out that people are creating tutorial videos right now on how to make your photos and videos look like 2016, since everybody believes that the 2016 aesthetic was just peak, so they brought it back in 2026 by creating tutorials. And finally, one more thing is, people are putting 2016 music in their videos and listening to 2016 music again, and this 2016 trend has gotten so massive, artists that were popular in 2016 are now becoming popular in 2026. Should we leave this whole 2016 trend in the past, or was 2016 really that good that we just had to bring it back in 2026?
This is why you should never leave children unattended. Watch this video until the end, and make sure this never happens to your child. In this video, we see a regular playground. A young boy is playing on a slide with his grandmother. At first glance, everything looks calm and safe, but pay close attention to what happens next. A couple walks past the playground. A man and a woman who seem completely ordinary at first. They look at the child, almost like they're assessing the situation. They walk back and forth near the playground, and each time they get a little closer to the child. And this is not a coincidence. This is preparation. A few minutes later, the woman approaches the grandmother and starts a conversation. She asks some kind of question and distracts her. At that exact moment, the man comes up behind the child. He crouches down, shows a toy, and pretends to be a friend of the boy's parents, or something like that. Then the man leads the child away in an unknown direction, and when the grandmother turns around, the child is already gone. This is one of the most common ways children are abducted. It works because it looks harmless, because it happens fast, and because people think, this could never happen to me.
How would you feel if you fell in the water with this animatronic sinking in the water? Or how about this one of this elephant? Imagine falling in the water with this. Imagine falling in the water with this at night. If your heebies were GB'd watching any of the last two videos, you have Mechanophobia, which is the fear of man-made things underwater. How much money would they have to pay you to do the maintenance on these animatronics in the water? At least $5 million an hour for me. This is scary. You want to see something scarier though? This is what it looks like drained with the animatronic showing. This is just, oh my God. Why is that almost scarier than seeing them in water? Like, this is the track that the boat goes on, and it goes all the way around there, and you see these. There's so many in that water. I just need to know how we're feeling, because if you were creeped out by any of the images that I have just showed you, you have Mechanophobia. There's no shame in it. A lot of us have it. I have hundreds of thousands of followers on here that also have it. You are not alone. Let me know how we're feeling down below. Did you just discover a new phobia today?
This man said he was voting for Trump to fight against child trafficking and then was arrested for being a pedophile. So this is Scott Susek from Wisconsin, but he's not an ordinary guy. Scott's wife, Stephanie Susek, is actually the chairwoman of the Door County Republican Party. Yes, that is Scott's wife with President Donald Trump. So Stephanie Susek is obviously very involved in the political world and has been very outspoken about her politics over the past few years. But even though his wife publicly championed the fight against child traffickers, it turns out that Scott was a pedophile himself. You see, on July 24th, 2025, Scott was arrested for accessing hundreds of CSAM images and videos on a secure file sharing service. Meanwhile, his wife Stephanie in 2024 represented Wisconsin at the Republican National Convention. However, this story gets even more disturbing. In 2009, Scott was actually busted for downloading CSAM materials to his. At the time, Door County, Wisconsin investigators actually seized Scott's laptop and found CSAM materials on it. Scott even admitted to investigators that he had downloaded the images. And yet, for some reason, Scott was never charged with the crime. So here you have a man who actually admitted to downloading CSAM. The investigators actually found the CSAM on his device, and they never charged him with the crime. And then 15 years later, obviously they catch him doing the same thing again because he was never formally charged with anything. I really wonder why he was never charged with any sort of a crime. It's really bizarre. I'm sure it had nothing to do with his wife or anybody like that. Regardless, I hope this guy has a horrible time in prison, and I'll keep y'all updated if there are any developments in the case.
Would you ever do this? Would you allow someone to harness you into a dinosaur animatronic and make it act like it's eating you? Because I wouldn't. Essentially what they do is they harness you into this thing, and it's a massive dinosaur animatronic. They put you in there, they take the stepladder out from under you, and they just let you hang. And then the dinosaur animatronic comes to life, and it starts acting like it's eating you. Could you ever do this? Like, it does not look fun. She does not look like she is having a good time at all. It's called Gundava Park, and it's in Colombia, and it has a whole bunch of different dinosaur animatronics, cool little park area. But this, I'd cry. I would cry. Like, little bro is watching his mom be eaten by a dinosaur. That would traumatize me if I was little bro. So what about you? Would you do this, or would you be too scared? Or are you scared of animatronics as much as I am? Also the megalophobia aspect of it, because it's so huge. Count me out. The only thing that could make it worse is if it was in water. Regardless though, I will not be going there. Okay, thanks, bye.
Did you know that in 2010, a gold statue of Buddha was x-rayed, only to reveal a living, breathing monk inside, who had been there since 1320? According to the legend, it was discovered in 2010 in an old temple on top of a mountain in Sri Lanka. When archaeologists explored the temple, they found a statue of Buddha made of gold. The statue was taken to a museum. People constantly visited and took photos with it, as it was believed to bring good luck. But one day, a girl took a photo and noticed that the statue's eyes were open. Museum employees decided to send the statue for an x-ray and found out that there was a living person inside. To see the photo, just search for living Buddha statue. Scientists immediately began studying the discovery. They learned that inside was a monk named Anshu, who covered himself in gold back in 1320 in order to be placed in the center of the temple on the mountain. Somehow, he remained alive inside and survived to this day. Examination showed that he was perfectly healthy. No one could understand how he managed to live for over 1,000 years without food or water. The medical community was left speechless, unable to classify his state as either life or death. They decided not to remove the monk as it could harm him, so the statue was left in the museum, where it still remains.
2026 just got even crazier, part 5. So many people might have some negative opinions about Rockstar Games because they haven't released GTA 6 yet, but they just did something so wholesome, because a family member of a terminally ill fan posted to social media seeing if anyone had a connection where he could play GTA 6 early, because the terminally ill fan might not be around long enough for the release of GTA 6. Well, Rockstar actually responded and granted early access to the terminally ill fan. Honestly, Rockstar, you have my respect from this. Next, a Moon Hotel is currently taking reservations. Yeah, I'm not kidding, and the prices for this Moon Hotel is supposedly around $250,000 to $1 million. Now, this hotel is said to be opened around 2032 and is set to begin construction in 2029. But like, just imagine this Moon Hotel is a real thing and you get there and they don't have your room ready.
Okay, this is part 5 of the real-life experiments that inspired Stranger Things. In my last video, it's very important that you watch it because we talked about Project Rainbow, aka the Philadelphia experiments. Also, I have a full-length video on YouTube if you want to watch me go more in depth. Link in bio. But basically, yeah, they got the ship to disappear when they only wanted it to go invisible. Now, how does this tie into Project Montauk and Stranger Things? Well, teleportation was part of the Montauk experiments. After that, they wanted to try time travel. They created this weird portal tunnel thing that they thought they could send people into and then send them to any point in our timeline. Well, on August 12th of 1983, a particular ship came through this tunnel. That's right, apparently the USS Aldridge appeared in this tunnel. Staff running the experiments freaked and shut it down, and then the ship went back to 1943. Remember how we said the ship disappeared and reappeared? That's where it went.